Let's start with a simple observation about the Vikings' initial depth chart. Nothing is completely set in stone. Although the roster is organized by position, the truth is that everything is still in flux under constant evaluation. The franchise's official website makes this clear by including a disclaimer at the top of the page, highlighting that the roster will still undergo adjustments before the upcoming matchup against the Bears. In other words, what we see now isn't necessarily a definitive picture of what will happen on the field. Another important point is that the depth chart doesn't lock coaches into immutable decisions. It serves more as a reference guide than an absolute rule. For example, Aaron Jones could very well be listed as RB1, but at game time, the coach could decide to open the game with Jordan Mason, listed as RB2 without any problem. This demonstrates how flexible the strategy can be, molded according to what the team believes is most effective in each situation. Even with this caveat in mind, fans can't help but wonder, are there many surprises hidden behind these picks? After all, the depth chart may seem static on paper, but behind it lies a series of adjustments, tests, and strategic decisions that can completely change the course of a game. This shouldn't be seen as a negative in any way. On the contrary, Redmond's trajectory thus far shows encouraging signs. After a 2024 season in which he demonstrated his potential, he now arrives with the goal of establishing himself as a reliable asset within the NFL. What's interesting about this scenario is seeing his name placed alongside two players of enormous weight and respect in the league, Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave, athletes who have already accumulated significant achievements and recognition throughout their careers. Being in the same group as these veterans is, in itself, an indication of how much Redmond is evolving and attracting attention within the organization. However, the Vikings' tactical reality shows that, in many instances, the team will likely play with only two defensive tackles on the field. This means that, in the most frequent situations, the primary responsibility will fall on Allen and Hargrave, two pillars capable of supporting the defensive line. Therefore, Redmond may not appear on every snap, but his presence as a strategic alternative is valuable. He represents a solid option for rotations, offering physical freshness and the chance to maintain a high level of competition when the starters need rest. In other words, Minnesota can count on the experience of its veterans, but it also has a young, rising player at its disposal who can surprise whenever given the opportunity. Despite this, Redmond has a legion of admirers in Egan. The young defensive tackle has proven himself to be athletic, explosive, and capable of making a real impact behind the line of scrimmage, creating problems for any offense that crosses his path. This ability to penetrate and disrupt opposing plays is exactly the kind of asset coaches value and can provide a solid foundation in strategic situations. Still, some remain cautious, preferring to wait and see if he can truly translate this potential into consistency on the field. Meanwhile, on the offensive side, Ty Chandler is already a household name, having been a part of the Vikings since 2022. He earned his place thanks to his consistent performance and dedication, but there's a point of debate. Can the running back truly become an impactful player in Minnesota's offense? Some analysts believe his ceiling may not be as high, limiting his chances of assuming a greater role. On the other hand, Xavier Scott is emerging, drawing attention for precisely the opposite reason. His style of play boasts explosiveness and the ability to change the pace of a game on unexpected plays. Scott proves to be the kind of athlete who, even with limited opportunities, can wreak havoc, break down poorly positioned defenses, and bring new dynamics to the backfield. It's this unpredictability that has many eyes on him as a potential revelation. It wouldn't be a huge surprise if C.J. Ham's return ultimately spells the end of Chandler's tenure with the Vikings. If that actually happens, Xavier Scott would automatically cement himself as the team's RB3, gaining even more room to showcase his potential in real-world situations. Of course, all of this could be nothing more than speculation, and there's a considerable chance that nothing will change immediately. But in the competitive environment of the NFL, these scenarios always attract attention and cannot be ignored. Another point worth highlighting is Chambliss's relationship with Bo Richter. The fact that Chambliss appears the position up front is significant, especially considering that Richter was a significant player last season. Most of his contributions came on special teams under Matt Daniels, where he showed energy and dedication on every snap. Even so, it remains to be seen how Richter could be used beyond special teams. While he lacks the stature of many traditional edge rushers, his more compact and muscular frame could be an advantage in certain matchups. His short stature can be offset by his leverage, allowing him to position himself in favorable positions to win duels against taller blockers. If he can translate this strength and explosiveness to the defensive line, Richter could open new doors for himself within the Vikings' defensive rotation. Chambliss, in turn, emerges as a name worth keeping a close eye on. His main characteristic is his physical and mental toughness, qualities that allow him to be consistently present in plays and compete at a high level for long periods. Furthermore, his versatility stands out, as he can adapt to different game situations, whether pressuring the quarterback, assisting against the run game, or even contributing to special formations. What's notable is the fact that Chambliss is an extremely active athlete, always on the move, seeking contact, and putting himself in positions to make an impact. This constant intensity instills confidence in the coaching staff, as it shows he's capable of maintaining his rhythm even in highly demanding situations. Players like this are often valued because they not only perform their duties but also raise the energy level of the entire group. If he can maintain this poise on the field, Chambliss could become a reliable rotational player and even gain more space than many initially imagine. His ability to reinvent himself within defensive formations makes him a true wild card in the squad, someone who can offer practical solutions to different needs throughout the season. Tai Felton possesses two fundamental qualities for any player aspiring to excel in the NFL: physical length and above-average speed. This combination makes him a versatile and highly attractive player, capable of contributing both as a wide receiver and as an option in return plays. His wingspan allows him to compete for the ball in high-traffic situations, while his acceleration offers the opportunity to turn short receptions into explosive gains. The big question, however, revolves around his potential use as a kickoff returner. This role requires not only straight-line speed, but also field vision, quick reflexes, and the courage to withstand intense pressure from opposing coverage. Felton appears to have the necessary attributes to take on this role, but the challenge remains to prove on the field that he can handle the pressure and make accurate split-second decisions. If he can demonstrate consistency in this area, Felton could become a true difference-maker for the Vikings, offering the team an additional asset in favorable field position. A good returner can change the course of a game in a single play, and it's precisely this expectation that makes Felton such an intriguing prospect for the upcoming games. During the preseason, Felton ended up committing a fumble that drew negative attention. This type of error carries significant weight when it comes to the returner's role, as the primary responsibility in this role is not only to gain yards but, above all, to protect possession. Being a returner means constantly dealing with heavy impacts, making quick decisions amidst opposing traffic, and still maintaining complete control of the play. On special teams, the top priority will always be simple and straightforward, ensuring the ball remains in one's own hands. Only after that does the issue of field positioning come into play, seeking to gain favorable territory to begin the offensive drive. In other words, no explosive run or impressive return is worth it if there's a risk of losing possession. This is precisely where Felton's biggest challenge lies. If ball security becomes a recurring concern, his position as KR1 could quickly be compromised. The NFL is an environment where mistakes are costly, and a single turnover can completely change the course of a game. If he wants to cement his place, Felton will need to show that he has learned from his preseason mistake and can offer complete confidence whenever he has the ball in his hands. With the arrival of Carson Wentz, the Vikings have added a veteran quarterback to their roster who has seen practically everything in the NFL. Through the ups and downs of his career, he even boasts the experience of being part of a Super Bowl winning squad. even though, at the time, he was injured and didn't participate on the field. This experience alone carries considerable weight, as Wentz knows the pressure, the spotlight, and the demands that come with being on a top team. Naturally, the general expectation is that he will be the primary backup, someone prepared to take over the offense if the starter needs to leave. However, there's one point that can't be ignored. His understanding of the Vikings' offensive scheme is still limited, as he joined the team more recently. Learning the ins and outs of a complex playbook requires time and repetition, even for someone with experience. In contrast, Max Brosmer, the rookie signed as an UDFA, has been immersed in the offensive system since the spring. This gives him a theoretical advantage in understanding the plays, alignments, and adjustments needed in different situations. While Brosmer may not possess Wentz's experience or practical understanding of what it takes to survive the challenges of an NFL regular season, his tactical mastery could place him in an interesting position within the quarterback group. This difference creates a curious scenario. On the one hand, Wentz's experience and resilience, and on the other, Brosmer's familiarity with and dedication to the playbook. The balance between these two forces could define not only the immediate hierarchy at the position, but also how the Vikings will shape their depth throughout the year. As the weeks go by, this adaptation gap will likely diminish. Carson Wentz, with all the experience he has accumulated in the league, will inevitably learn the offensive scheme and naturally cement his position as QB2. It would only be a matter of time before his knowledge of the playbook reaches the expected level, combined with the experience in pressure situations that only a veteran can offer. On the other hand, if the season started today, some argue that Max Brosmer might be the most prepared choice to take the field. The reason is simple. He's been studying and practicing within this system for months, which gives him greater familiarity with the calls and necessary adjustments in real time. While he lacks the experience of big games, this familiarity with the scheme puts him in a position that cannot be ruled out. And there's an additional factor that brings optimism. Christian Darrisaw is listed as LT1, a clear sign that the offensive line's cornerstone should be ready to play as early as Week 1. For any, whether it's Wentz, Brosmer, or the outright starter, having Darrisaw on the field is a huge advantage. His ability to neutralize the league's most dangerous pass rushers provides peace of mind and time in the pocket, allowing the offense to run more efficiently. When Darrisaw is healthy, the entire offensive dynamic changes. He doesn't just protect the quarterback's blind side, he instills confidence in the entire line, elevating the group's performance. With this added security, whoever takes over the offense will be in a much better position to develop plays, exploit long passes, and maintain control of the game.